This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
It's Oh Behave with Arden Moore, the show that teaches you how to have harmony in the household with your pets. Join Arden as she travels coast to coast to help millions better understand why cats and dogs do what they do. Get the latest scoop on famous faces, their perfectly pampered pets, and who's walking who in Rin Tin Tinseltown. From famous pet experts and best-selling authors to television and movie stars, you'll get the latest buzz from wagging tongues and tails. Garner great pet tips and have a doggone fur-flying fun time. So get ready for the pause and applause as we unleash your Oh Behave host, America's pet edutainer, Arden Moore.
Welcome to the Oh Behave show on Pet Life Radio. I'm your host, Arden Moore. Our special guests today give new meaning to the term Doghouse. They're giving it a positive spin. What they do each and every day is just simply amazing. To date, this duo has rescued and found loving homes for more than 11,000 shelter dogs. Where do these dogs stay until they're adopted? Why, in their sprawling house in South Carolina, of course. It is an honor and a pleasure to welcome to our show the stars of a powerful movie that's going to come out in September. It's called Life in the Doghouse. Please join me in giving pause and applause to Ron, Danta, and Danny Robertshaw. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, guys, Ron and Danny operate a nonprofit called Danny and Ron's Rescue, and they have a focused mission: spay, neuter, adopt, love. We're going to find out more about Ron and Danny and the impact this movie is now making in film festival circuits all over the country. They're making a difference for shelter animals, but we got to pay for the show. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. You know the drill. Sit and stay. We'll be right back.
Time for a pause. For furry ones, actually. Sit and stay. Oh Behave will be right back.
Molly, here's your dinner. Zeus, that's not your food.
Don't let that happen to your precious cat. Elevate your cat's eating experience with the Cat Tree Tray. The Cat Tree Tray keeps your cat's food off the floor and conveniently located on the cat tree. It's the perfect way to eat. It's a beautiful wrought iron tray that easily attaches to your cat tree and keeps dogs and other critters out of your cat's dish. A must for multi-pet households. There's a 6-inch tray for large bowls and a 4-inch tray for smaller bowls. Purchase your Cat Tree Tray today. Go right now to cattreetray.com. That's cattreetray.com. cattreetray.com.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com. Oh Behave is back with more tail-wagging ways to achieve harmony in the household with your pets. Now back to your fetching host, America's pet edutainer, Arden Moore.
Welcome back to the Oh Behave show on Pet Life Radio. I'm your host, Arden Moore. Our special guests today are the stars of a very powerful movie called Life in the Doghouse. Now, for more than a decade, Ron, Danta, and Danny Robertshaw have committed their lives to saving dogs in shelters. I got blown away from the message of this movie, guys, and I can't wait for September 12th. That's when it officially premieres to general audiences, correct?
Yes, September 12th.
So what's happening between now and September 12th? Where have you guys been showcasing this movie, Life in the Doghouse?
It's been going around. Not long ago, we just got back from Provincetown. It showed 3 times there, and we will be heading to Newport, where it's going to show, and then we go on to Dallas. And then we're very excited, September 5th, they're doing a celebrity red carpet showing of it in Beverly Hills, Los Angeles. So we're very excited to attend the celebrity red carpet event of the movie.
That's pretty all right. When's the Dallas showing?
That is the 25th of August.
All right, because I used to live in San Diego, and I now live deep in the heart of Dallas, so just wanted to know if I'm around. I'd love to meet.
It's actually going to play in Plano, Texas.
Okay, I know exactly where Plano is. It's just next to Allen, where my sister lives. All right, so we're going to talk about the movie, but let's find out a little bit more about you two. You guys met, I guess, in the 80s. You were both at a horse show, right? You're both horsemen.
We were introduced at a horse show. Yeah, we're both horsemen, and Ron was new to the area, and I'd been in the area quite a while. And so, it's just kind of a first meeting thing, and then later he called and asked if I'd ride a couple horses at a couple shows for his customers, and that sort of began our relationship, and it just never stopped from there.
Well, you guys it went from a friendship to now a relationship, and you said in your movie you both have a passion for dogs, and I think that's important. So tell us how this has impacted. I mean, your relationship is amazingly strong, and look at all the lives of the dogs that you're saving, but you both have to be committed, right? Let's start with Ron.
Yeah, it's definitely, something that it takes two, because, as I said, even in the movie, if Danny didn't have the passion for animals that I did to run this, it wouldn't work, and vice versa if I didn't, because, I mean, it's basically, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. I mean, we have dogs sick at night, and, you have to get up, and we may have dogs that have had corneal transplants, and we have to get up every hour on the hour and do 4 different drops 5 minutes apart. So there's just a lot of giving, but what we both, I think, get from the love of dogs is so rewarding, and I think it's very fulfilling for our lives.
If we didn't, for the most part, think alike when it comes to animals, and dogs particularly,
right,
it would never work.
I
think we had to convince the other person to pitch in.
I think that's a very good point. And I want people to visualize your home in Camden, South Carolina. On the movie, you said it's about a 4,400 square foot, beautiful, beautiful home. How many dogs are in your home?
Right now, we have 87 in the house.
Oh, my gosh.
And it's very hard to visualize. I mean, that's why the movie helps it so much. But it's amazing how, this many dogs live in harmony. And, the one thing, I mean, there has never been one person that has come to the Doghouse that they all say the same thing. How do you keep this house so clean and make it smell so good? But, we go through a lot of effort. I mean, all the dog beds are washed. We do 18 to 19 loads of a commercial washer and dryer every day. We wash all the bedding. We bathe the dogs every week. The yards are picked 4 times a day. So we're really big on having a clean house since we have to live in the doghouse. We're actually their guests.
Tell us about your fireplace. I saw a few chihuahuas looking quite toasty in there. You're not roasting dogs. What happened to your fireplace?
We have hot dogs.
Yeah.
No, the truth is that a fire screen that was there was broken, and before we got a new one, a couple of the dogs dragged beds up there and just moved in. And so now those little guys, they like that little haven in there, and they like their little hide-a-beds even better to be in there. And it just gives them a real feeling of security, and it's kind of a fascinating thing to see which ones decide they really like that as their parking place and who doesn't.
No, I thought it was great. And you used to have carpet, but now you have stone floors. Smart call.
Yeah, we actually had hardwood floors with, orientals down, but, with the volume of this dogs and trying to keep it clean, that we tore all the hardwood floors up and put down Italian stone, throughout the whole house and stuff. So it's very easy to keep clean.
So you guys had a pretty nice life. I mean, working in the horse business, having a beautiful home in South Carolina. So bring us back to 2005, which in the movie you said was the catalyst moment for you. You were doing some dog rescue, but tell our listeners what the significance is of that year.
That really was a year of change, and Hurricane Katrina hit the Louisiana area, and of course that affected Houston, and people had to be transferred everywhere. The bad part of the story is that the dogs were not, of people that owned them there, were not allowed to go with them. And so there were so many dogs, as many dogs abandoned as people were, probably even in some cases more. And yet the people had no way to communicate about them or find them or anything else. And a lot of them didn't even have a home to go back to. So when we saw news of all of that, and we just started thinking through the dog's eyes, I mean, I had a life, I had a wonderful home, and now what? I'm just in fear and waiting to die, really. And that thought hit us terribly. And that began the whole thing with a trip to that area first, and we just started bringing dogs from the area to save them. We tried to find owners as much as we could, but it was almost impossible.
I remember on TV watching all the coverage of Katrina, and Danny and I were just so horrified when we kept seeing people having to leave, but then they had to leave their pets behind, and they were on the roofs, and they were in the trees, and they were swimming in the water. And that really is what just motivated both of us, to get on the bandwagon to help through that. And when we did Katrina, we had no idea that we would, turn into a nonprofit rescue and go through this many dogs. At that time, we just did it because we thought it was a tragedy. And then, the tragedy of Katrina took us into becoming a 501c3 nonprofit and doing this full time.
Yeah, the big difference was that, if you go to a shelter and you want to pick out a dog, that's one thing. But when you have 100 pairs of eyes looking at you, you're not so picky. You want to save the ones that look like they're hurting the most and the scaredest, and ones probably the least likely adoptable later. And that's what we did.
Well, I do applaud you both. And, you do have a new concept. I said at the start of the show, you're giving a new definition to the word life in the doghouse. Your home is beautiful.
We're giving the
These
real
pets
one.
are, yeah, you turned into a real doghouse, but you're giving Doghouse a positive spin. So tell the folks how this is a little bit different setup rescue, because typically you'll have foster situations or there's a kennel run or something, but no. Guys, this is a beautiful home in South Carolina that has gone to the dogs in a good way. So let's start with you, Ron, I guess. Explain to people why this is such a unique type of rescue.
Well, when Danny and I started this, and after Katrina decided to really do the rescue, this big and help so many dogs, getting so many abused dogs through court cases and in shelters that have been abused and stuff, we found by them living as part of our family in a house that the shy dogs could, come out of their shells and have a lot of human activity around them. When they live in a kennel, it's very hard. They go to the back of the kennel and they stay scared. And we vowed that to every dog that we take, that if they cannot find a home as good as we give them or better, that they won't leave. So this is a safe haven for them. And we treat them like our own personal dogs. And we actually still have 2 dogs left from Katrina.
Oh, what are their names?
We have Stella and we have Ella.
They rhyme, of course. So tell us about the 411 on Stella and Ella.
They just, as we kept getting dogs in crates and stuff, they just came, they would come full of, knee-deep in feces and urine because, unfortunately, they did not have the staff when all these dogs were in warehouses. They didn't have the staff to walk them and clean them, and because, the shelters were so packed themselves, and then all of a sudden, they had to create these massive shelters in buildings, so there just wasn't the staff to take care of them. So when we would get them, they were, in horrible condition, and the 2 that we have emotionally, they just weren't ready to go to a home. Mm-hmm. And so the ones that we feel that are very, very scared and not really ready or capable to go to another situation without really panicking them, they live their life out with us.
How old are Stella and Ella, and what kind of dogs are they?
Stella is a black lab mix, and she is turning 20 this year.
You're kidding. Wow. Okay.
And Ella is a very small shepherd type of mix, and she is turning 15 this year.
Okay. And go ahead, Danny.
I was just going to say that another thing that makes us a little different is that when we were eyeballing all these different animals and stuff, we realized that no one is going to take the ones that have eye issues or skin conditions and look like crap. And somehow we felt that we had to do that. And by doing it, and when we say it's in our name, it's our dog, and we treat it like our dog. So we ended up getting a lot of dogs that have some costly problems to cure. But we sure didn't want them to die because of that. And that's why we chose so many dogs like that. And we said whether we have the money or not, we'll get the work done and we'll make them whole again. And it's been sort of like that. Whether we had it or not, we do it anyway. And eventually we keep catching up. But, of course, it makes the bills get high and then we go back down again. So.
All right. Well, we're speaking with 2 very important rescue gentlemen. And we're talking to Ron Danta and Danny Robertshaw. We're going to find out what they would do if they won the lotto right after we take this commercial break. So sit and stay. We'll be right back.
Time for a walk on the red carpet, of course. All Behave will be back in a flash right after these messages. Coming to theaters September 12th, Life in the Doghouse, a heartwarming documentary about two men who, through their unique approach to rescue, have found loving homes for over 10,000 dogs.
I never dreamed we would have a rescue this size that has taken over, our whole home, our lives.
Once we say you're part of Danny and Ron's rescue, we promise you will never end up in a shelter again. If they're capable of having a good quality of life and hopefully be adopted, then we'll stick by it and get it done.
It's a film that will warm your heart. You'll be amazed and inspired by these two men and the remarkable work they do at Danny and Ron's Rescue. In theaters September 12th, but you need to reserve your tickets now to see it. Go to lifeinthedogHousemovie.com and find or request a theater near you.
We live in the dog's house. We're the guest.
Want to know who the latest trendsetters are in Hollywood? How about Irish setters? Find out who's been spotted with spots, chowing with their chow, and shopping for Gucci with their Poochie. Get the scoop on all the latest celebrity pet patter right here. Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Let's talk pets.
Let's talk pets
On Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Hi, this is Betty White, and I'm inviting you to tune in to the O Behave Show with Arden Moore on Pet Life Radio.
We're back from the lot. Just checked the paper and we had a record showing at the box. The letterbox, that is. Now back to O Behave. Here's Arden.
Welcome back to the O Behave Show on Pet Life Radio. I'm your host, Arden Moore. We're speaking with Ron Danta and Danny Robertshaw. They together make up the DannyRonRescue.org group in South Carolina. They are now touring the country at film festivals with a powerful documentary about what they're doing. It's called Life in the Doghouse. The movie is called. It's going to premiere September 12th to general audiences. But, you guys, most people say when they win the lotto, they're going to travel the world, buy a Mercedes or a Tesla. Okay, guys, let's say you have a winning lotto ticket in your paws. What are you going to do with it?
My big dream is I would buy a spay-neuter bus.
Okay.
And I would have veterinarians and their assistants on the spay-neuter bus, and I would send that spay-neuter bus to all the rural areas and spay and neuter cats and dogs for people for free. Because spay and neuter is the key problem to our overpopulation in the United States and in other countries. And if we could get most people to spay and neuter their dogs, we would not have an overpopulation. My big dream would be if everyone would get their dogs spayed and neutered and they could put shelters out of business and put rescues out of business if there was no need for it.
Well, I'm hoping you're going to win that lotto because I think it's well-deserved. And the other point in your movie, and I'm not trying to spill all the beans about the movie because it's really good, but speak about the, people are all up, it's semantics. Kill shelters, no-kill shelters. The no-kills send the dogs to the kill shelters, but can you address that a little bit and shed a little light on who is really responsible for this over-influx of dogs, cats, and other animals at shelters?
I feel very sad for most shelters. I mean, just where we live in South Carolina, it's a county shelter. They have to I was there yesterday, and they got 3 pigs brought in and 6 baby pigs. They have to take everything that's dropped off there, whether it's parakeets, goldfish, cats, dogs, donkeys, horses, whatever drives in the driveway and is dropped off and surrendered, they have to take. And so many of the shelters in America always get bashed because they euthanize. And I talk to a lot of rescues because there's a lot of rescues, and even in our area, that will get in the newspaper and they'll bash a lot of shelters because they have to euthanize. And it's really not the shelter's fault. It comes down to the community. It comes down to education. I mean, there are a lot of people that cannot afford to spay and neuter their dogs, but there are many, many places. I mean, at most of your shelters, they have low-cost spay and neuter for like $10 and $15. And if you do a little research, there are places, to get your pets spayed and neutered. But I really get very, very defensive of the shelters because they basically have to do the dirty work because we have an overpopulation.
The misconception is that most people think that the no-kill shelter is so wonderful. But what happens is they're the cause of more deaths than the kill shelters because they fill up with dogs that aren't adoptable eventually. and they have to keep them forever. And so there are no spots there for the little dog that looks like a family pet or that sort of thing to come in, because the no-kill shelters get so booked up with permanents there. And it's like waiting in line to get in. So those dogs have to be referred somewhere else, or else they're just abandoned. And that's so much of what the kill shelters do. And I can assure you, they try very, very hard to keep animals alive as long as they possibly can. And when they reach out to us, sometimes it's because we've had this one so long, we really don't want to do something with it. Is there any way you guys could help us? And that's where we come in a whole lot of times.
So tell us, how did you get this idea of doing the movie Life in the Doghouse? And people dream about doing movies, but getting it done is probably no easy task. So can you guys talk about how you came up with the idea and got Ron Davis to say yes as the producer?
Well, you've got it backwards.
Yeah, sorry.
We didn't come up with the idea. Ron Davis came up with the idea.
Okay, help us out.
And it took Ron Davis 2 years to get us to agree to do it. He wined and dined us, and we kept saying no, no, no. And Danny and I kept saying we weren't interesting enough. How many people want to watch us feed 80-some dogs and medicate 80-some dogs?
Yeah.
So on and so forth. And, he kept talking to us, and he said, you guys just have to trust me. You have a beautiful story here. And so we finally agreed to do it. And it took about, 2.5 years of filming, to get it completed. But I do have to say the interesting thing is the whole time Danny and I kept saying to Ron is, when you have a book, Gone with the Wind, and you make the movie, it's easy because you have a book with a story, and then you can, make a movie out of it, or out of Africa, or whatever book you read, you can create a movie. And we had no idea how, he followed us to the flood zones in Louisiana when we went down to rescue dogs down there. He followed us out in the woods trapping dogs. He followed us under house trailers. He followed us to horse shows. He followed us all over the country, and we could not figure out how he was going to make this a story. And I do have to say, when we saw the movie, Danny and I both cried because it was so moving that he really did create a story of our lives.
I kept saying that we're just not that interesting. There's nothing interesting. And now I realize that we were so engulfed in what we did, and it was so natural to us, that we kind of felt that everybody knew that. And the most rewarding part of the film is the couple times we've gotten to see it, when people that we know, that know us very well, are sitting right next to us, and at the end of it, there's tears running down their face, and they said, we know. I mean, we thought we know. We all have thought we know, and yet we know nothing about what we really do. And come to find out, it turned out it really is interesting. We were fascinated.
Well, I love how how Ron Davis incorporated some of your childhood footage. And I know will never hurt a turtle or anything else, but, that was wonderful. And then the way I don't want to spoil it, but I love where the camera angles are. You start off with the movie and it's almost at dog level, right?
Oh my gosh, that was so much fun just watching Clay Westervelt in our house trying to figure out how to do this. And the first couple times trying to get some of the dogs coming through the doggy door and stuff, all they did was stop and lick the camera and jump on his lap and in his face. And we were in hysterics because we thought, there's no way this is going to happen. And sure enough, while, we're doing different things and stuff, he runs to Lowe's, he buys PVC pipes, and he had tracks all over the place, and then a drone, and so he'd get them right up in the face sleeping, and the dogs didn't want to go up and lick that like they do a human. It's just so ingenious.
That's clever. That's clever.
And it made it so beautiful.
So I know we want to help you guys out, so we want to give them the information on how people can make donations. I want them all to go to the movies, and I know that the net proceeds are going to go to shelters like yourself. Is that correct?
Yes, 100%. Ron Davis is donating 100% of his profits from the movie to animal shelters all over the country.
So how do we donate to help your cause in South Carolina?
If you just go to Danny and Ron's Rescue, we're on Facebook. We also have a website. If you just Google us, and on both places there's a donate button. And if you'd like to mail a check, there's also an address to send a check to. We don't have adoption fees.
Right.
All of our dogs are spayed, neutered, microchipped, have all their vaccines, dentals, everything they need. We do corneal transplants. We do everything to give them sight. And anyway, we just survive on donations only.
And you have given up a lot of your retirement funds to keep this place in operation.
Yes, we did. Because when we started with Katrina, we were not a nonprofit.
Yes.
So we couldn't ask for any donations. And so we wound up, both of us, spending about 40% of our retirement fund, which was very costly because then you had to pay taxes on it, taking it out to do the Katrina dogs because it was so expensive to, get 600 dogs spayed and neutered and heartworm treated and so on and so forth. So it was very costly to us. And so we were very fortunate that somebody saw us in the press and from Michigan and decided to become our attorney pro bono and also made us a 501c3. We are forever indebted to Danielle McCluskey. She was an angel for us.
Well, we give a shout out. Yeah, I think fate's made it so that the two of you guys got together. You have this beautiful home and a unified mission. And the other thing is these dogs in your home are getting a chance to socialize with other dogs, know what life is like in a house, which is your doghouse. So doesn't that help with their adoptions?
Oh, it helps greatly because a lot of people contact us and tell us that they, I'd like to have something around this size and long-haired or allergenic friendly or whatever you want to call that. And about the size and whether it's with children or whether it's for a mother-in-law to have as a couch potato. And having lived with each dog, we have a report on each dog, and we know what they're like from the beginning when we get them and how long it took and how comfortable they are when new people come in the house.
That's
and
great.
How they react with the other animals. And it's interesting when they like a certain type of person but not another type. And we child test them and we cat test them and everything we can try to do to make it where they only go to one home after us ever.
And that's in our contracts. We have a very strict contract that you can never give the dog away. If 10 years from now you don't want the dog, we will send transport and the dog comes back to Danny and Ron's rescue and will live their life out with us. But you're never allowed to give your dog away or take your dog to the shelter. If you do, you agree to pay us $5,000.
We have all the dogs on record and in the computer, and so we know who has them. And
Good.
And they're microchipped in our name, and we leave them in that name. And that way we'll get the first call because we have 24/7 access to responding to calls. And, for instance, if you were going to France and you left your dog with a house sitter coming in and out and they left the door open and it got away and anyway somebody takes it to a vet or something, then we'll get the call first and we'll probably find you a lot faster than they would and we'll make a lot more effort. And so we don't mind getting the calls about that if we can make sure things are okay. We also ask people to keep a collar on with their cell number.
Good.
If it's on the side of the road and people stop, they're happy to dial a cell number real fast. But a lot of people aren't real willing to find a veterinarian or somebody to read chips.
Right. I call them shelter alums. My dog and cat, Kona and Casey, now work with me, and we teach pet first aid all over the country, and we also visit their therapy pets now. And I make sure that their collars are embroidered with my cell phone number, so it's much easier to read Kona and the phone number than try to look under the face of a dog and look at that tag
Right.
you can never read.
We do it on our collars, too. They're all material.
Ours are all embroidered with my cell phone number across them, so we don't allow any dog, at the minute they start to come into the house, that's the first thing they do is they get an embroidered collar on them.
That's really wonderful. So, guys, I know we're talking about shelter dogs that you've rescued, but there's more than just shelter dogs who land in your doghouse, correct?
Correct. The more we've learned and the larger we've gotten and the more people know about us, people find us when they're having family problems and want to place their dog, but they really don't want to put it in a shelter. People will find them at rest stops and things and odd places, and we'll get calls about it, and we'll go try to find it or catch it. And veterinarians call us when people bring dogs in that are hurt or sick and people don't want to pay for the operation or they can't do it, and ask us if we want to take this on and try to do that. And so we do pitch in with that as much as possible.
We also take a lot of abuse cases through the court system, and we get a lot of puppy mill dogs. We work very hard on trying to put a stop to puppy mills.
And dog fighting.
Gentlemen, I salute you both. We have enjoyed having you both on our show. We're speaking to Ron Danta and Danny Robertshaw. They are of DannyRonRescue.org in Camden, South Carolina, and they are the profiles of Life in the Doghouse, a new movie that is now making the film festival circuit and getting quite a lot of, pardon the pun, pause and applause. And it is going to be opening nationwide September 12th. If you want to do something great, please, please encourage all your friends to come and watch these movies. And please check out this nonprofit rescue. They have basically converted their 4,400 square foot beautiful home into a beautiful doghouse for more than 80 dogs. Guys, any parting messages you'd like to say? It's been a real honor to have you both on the show.
Well, we're very honored to be on here, and thank you for all your listeners, because obviously they're dog lovers, and if it weren't for dog lovers, Danny and I would not be able to adopt dogs out, because it takes us on our end, but it takes all of you out there that have such a big heart for love of animals that adopt dogs, and that's what makes the wheel go.
And I'd like to just throw out just the three things that are so important about dogs and people don't always think about them. Is one, they're just unconditional with love and everything to do with it, and they'll never give up on you. That's number two. I mean, they'll stick by you no matter what you're going through in your own life, but they'll be your best friend. And then on top of that, when they're in pain, they're so stoic. So I just ask people to be aware of their pet and make sure he's exactly who you think he is all the time, because if he's not, something is wrong. But he's so stoic, he'll never tell you about it until too late.
Well, that sounds good. Folks, we have been delighted to have Ron and Danny on our show. At this time, also, I want to give a pause up to our producer, Mark Winter. He is the Wizard of Paws. He is in charge of all the shows on Pet Life Radio Network, the #1 pet radio network on the planet. I just like to say a lot of P's. And I hope you check out my site, ardenmoore.com. And until next time, this is your flea-free host, Arden Moore, delivering just 2 words to all you 2, 3, and 4-leggers out there. Oh, behave.
Coast to coast and around the world, it's Oh Behave with Arden Moore. Find out why cats and dogs do the things they do, and get the latest buzz from wagging tongues and tails in Rin Tin Tinseltown. From famous pet experts and best-selling authors to television and movie stars, you'll get great tail-wagging pet tips and have a fur-flying fun time. All Behave with America's pet edutainer, Arden Moore. Every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.